Welcome. I am so glad you are here for this tutorial. This is the one that I've been procrastinating on because it's so important and I want to make sure I do it well for you. This is the one that my clients will tell me that it changes their life. I have a client who was telling me about the increased level of serenity in his life after using the strategy, and I actually wrote it down here. He says, I think I'm doing better than I ever have in my life. And so I'm so excited to be sharing with you today color charting for emotional regulation. And I am going to share my screen so you can see. We'll walk through the process of this together. Um, Here we are. This is for you if you ever just feel overwhelmed, stressed, it just becomes a little bit too much, and you have a tendency to lose it, which goes for my clients who have ADHD and autism because the sensory information that's coming in, it's harder for your brain to tune some of it out and it gets to be overwhelming. So this might be the sounds around you in the environment, the smells, the way your clothing feels. Perhaps you've forgotten to eat or drink water, and all these things kind of build up, and it feels like you go from 0 to 100, and you just kind of lose it. If that's you, this is a strategy I want you to try. So this is how it works. You create a little document of this is real scrappy. So however you want to do this, you can do this on sticky notes. You can do it with colored pencils. You can put it on colored construction paper, however you want to do it. But we look at our emotions and the way that we feel as either blue, green, yellow, orange, or red. We'll start with green. And then, well, then you'll want to have these columns, how I feel, when I feel like that, how I behave, and then what I do to move closer toward green. And you're going to spread out this practice over weeks. Like revisit it once a week or every day for a few weeks, but you might want to do this for a month or 6 weeks because as situations arise in your life, you're going to have more information to fill out in this table. So let's start with green. So you might start with how I feel. So green words that I think about are things like I feel calm, I feel at peace, I feel confident, I feel in the flow. Things are good. Just kind of moving along. So you might put some of those words in there and definitely your own words. Those are mine. Then we might move to yellow. Yellow is a little bit escalated. So you might have words like anxious, nervous, worried, stressed. This can also be excited. So it can be a good feeling as well, anticipation. Those things also cause, excitement inside of our bodies. So whatever the words are that you experience, put them in there. Then we're going to jump up to red. Red is when we've lost it. So feel out of control, out of my body, anger, rage, I've lost it. Whatever the words are that you feel when you are just kind of have lost it. And it may be also that the red doesn't identify your color. I've had a client who preferred it was black because there was just sort of a blankness or nothingness that they felt when they got to this point. Then we step down to orange and we say, well, so there's kind of like this in between line. Down here in yellow, maybe we're feeling anxious or nervous or worried or stressed. This is when we've completely lost it. What's that middle? So for me, if I think about it, it might be something like I'm overwhelmed. Maybe I know what's going on inside of my body, like my brain starts to race and I start to make up stories about what I think is going on and what I should say to someone, that kind of behavior, like, well, I'm going to go say this thing, or they should have behaved in this way or acted this way, something along those lines. That's my brain. So what is yours? How do you feel right between here, the yellow and the red? And fill in a couple of words for that. And then I like to finish with blue. This is sort of the real low, low energy, low feelings. Um, so for me in building a business, sometimes there's some lows and you're just like, you feel like you're not successful, that this isn't going to work. You might feel bad about yourself, probably pretty down about yourself. Um, People say that they're depressed, they're tired, they're lonely, they're sad, things like that. Real low energy feelings. So I would suggest if I were you right now, I would just pause and I just stop here and be like, for a week, I'm just going to tune in to the colors and I'm going to start to track how I feel and start to fill in vocabulary in each of those columns. The next step would be for you to identify, well, what is going on when I'm feeling those things? So when I'm feeling good, green, calm, in the flow, what's going on? Well, what about when I'm in the yellow? What's going on when I feel a little more nervous or stressed or anxious? And do the same for the orange, the red, and the blue. What's going on in your life that you start to feel these things? The next step would be for you to evaluate, how do I behave? So, what do I do when I'm feeling those things? So, when I'm feeling green, I am friendly, I am playful with my daughter, I am, curious about my husband's day, things like that. How do I behave when I'm in the green? How do I behave? So, what would people physically see from me when I'm in the yellow? So, how do I behave? Do the same for the orange, the red, and the blue. Here's a really great spot to make sure you pause and give it a few days and come back and continue to fill in the columns as more things come up in your life. And then the final column is, what do I do to move toward green? So if I'm feeling orange, what are some strategies that I have that will help me to move closer to green? If I'm in the yellow, what strategies do I have to move closer to green? And generally, when I'm in the red, I'm not real good at choosing strategies. Like, I'm just angry. I've lost it. I am not even interested in calming down. Like, my daughter might tell me that I need to calm down and I need to breathe. And I might tell her, I don't want to. I have done that in the past. Like, I am so caught up in the red that I don't even want to calm down. So that's the trick. We want to avoid being here as much as possible. This is where we make really bad decisions or we have no control over ourselves. So, what we want to do is catch ourselves in the yellow and the yellow and the orange, and use strategies to bring ourselves back down closer to green so that we avoid being in the red. Because red often sometimes leads to blue feelings of being low, like, oh, I can't believe I lost it. Here's some of the bad decisions that I made. Now I'm feeling bad about myself and I have to work through that. So, how can we get ourselves closer to green? So, I can't express to you enough to take time to interact with this chart, once a day for a week. And then weekly after that for the next 6 weeks, just filling in this chart, analyzing how you feel, when you feel that way, what strategies you have to get yourself closer to green. And here's what I think is going to happen. This is what's really amazed. And you'll learn more about this in the next video, which is my clients often just kind of stop with this chart after a little while because what they see is they can apply this chart to other aspects of their lives. And so they'll come back to me and they'll say, well, I use the color chart to solve this problem. And I use the color chart to solve this problem. I use the color chart to solve this problem. So there's no hard and fast and concrete way to use this. That is the very baseline that I just taught you. Go out with it, use it, and see where it pops up in your world and how it becomes useful. And please let me know. I love learning new ways to apply this to all aspects of my life. Good luck.